Casper.
Hi Casper. How are you today?
How am I today? I'm good, I guess. Yeah, I'm good. I still feel I don't have jet lag, but I still feel like I'm not not getting proper sleep after Summit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But maybe that's not just Summit, but also both of our sons have been confirmed Saturday.
Yeah.
At their confirmation. So maybe that's playing a role as well.
Yeah, coming back and hosting a massive party. Yeah.
Exactly.
But that's what we like to do.
That's what we like to do. How are you?
I'm really good. Kind of the same situation. Sleep is good.
Yeah.
Though we're leaving for London this week to Digital Marketing World Forum, where we have a booth and a presentation. So yeah, upwards and onwards, right?
Yeah. So finishing one and then jumping straight into the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's spring. That's like usually event season would be like the fall, but I feel like this spring has really been exciting around this as well. And talking about events, we just came back from one.
Yes.
As you mentioned.
And I think we should just spend 5-10 minutes on what was actually announced, right? The last episode we recorded at Summit, we had Derek and Jason and Caitlin talking a bit about what was released and Experience League and stuff, but what was actually announced at Summit?
Exactly.
Right.
And you did an awesome blog post. Actually, for me, it was like, I speak a lot to you, but I was like, this is what we need. Like this, I needed this as well because it becomes very high level sometimes. So just saying, hey, in the field that we're in marketing, what are the actual things that we need to look out for? And I saw Brandon from Qualcomm this weekend also posting about like, instead of having these high level conversations, how do we make this hands-on? How do we make it a list that we will start working on now instead of something that we vision about that will maybe happen sometime. I really like that approach actually.
And I think what's interesting is that a lot of things were announced and it's something that's actually happening in near time. I remember when Experience Platform was announced, then it took a couple of years before they actually started selling it, but it was like a vision that they had, right?
Yeah.
And I think part of this is still a vision, but at the same time they're pretty far in the I don't know if you can call it like the development. I think it's still near future of some of the releases, right? And as Derek mentioned, some of it was coming out in just 2 weeks' time from when we did the recording.
Exactly.
And the majority of things is coming out in June, I think it was.
Yeah. What is your top list then?
My top list
of most exciting things that we should get hands-on right now.
Yeah, I think that's difficult to say. I think it's actually more interesting to talk about the change of direction that Adobe is doing.
Yeah.
Right. So they're rebranding it. It's no longer Experience Cloud. It's CX Enterprise.
Yes.
And with that, there is also a new umbrella for analytics, CX Analytics. And I talked to some of the Adobe employees at the booth at Summit, and they mentioned that the biggest or the most frequently asked questions that they had received was, is that a new product coming out? Yeah. Is Adobe Analytics being what about CGA? But reality is that it's not a new product. It's a new umbrella for a handful of solutions under the CX Analytics, right?
A direction for actually getting it to work in real life.
Exactly, a direction for it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just looking through my notes here, and obviously we have CGA as part of it. There's the Data Insights Agent. There's the Conversation Insights from LLMs.
Yeah.
And then what's really interesting, we've been working with Mix Modeler as well.
Yeah.
And we have another episode talking about what Mix Modeler is.
Exactly.
But they are rebranding and adding more features to it and now calling it MCA, Marketing Campaign Analytics.
Yeah.
I was actually meeting with the product director for Mix Modeler or MCA, and when when I initially heard that they were rebranding it to MCA, I was thinking of why MCA? You know the song.
That's the question before. Why? Okay, yeah, that's
right?
good.
But what was interesting was that he said, well, it's he was actually thinking of what was it? A rap group where somebody's called MCA. Is it not Beastie Boys? I'm looking at you because you're like the music guy.
Yeah, I feel I'm caught in the light here. MCA.
MCA. Should I do a quick Google search for that?
MCA. NWA. NWA.
MWA.
NWA. That's a rap band.
Okay. I'm not sure that was it.
Okay.
And it's losing a bit of traction now that I can't remember it, right?
Perfect setup.
But fantastic setup. But the funny thing was that we had a funny talk about that, you know, there's two groups of people. One is thinking of the YMCA, and the other one is like a rap group, right? And he was more the rap group and I was more the MCA.
Adobe and the Adobe community has been using Run DMC a lot, right?
That's right.
Run CJA and all these things, which is I wish I came up with that.
But it doesn't sound as, you know, Run CJA is fancy, but YMCA doesn't have the...
But it has the community feel as well. I like that. Yeah. Like we talked a little about that from our recent episode, right?
Yeah.
About that. So.
But anyway, so that's coming and it's gonna be having a better integrations into AP and it's being, you know, built on some of the or using the same foundation as the rest of the stack on platform, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a new product, but it's a new umbrella for multiple products, right?
Yeah.
And I think the overall takeaway is that Adobe is going all in on AI, right?
Yes.
With the agents, they also have the agent orchestrator. They have the MCP servers. We talked about that in the last episode with Derek, and then the CX coworker.
Yeah,
which is really interesting, right? And I think if you're familiar with any of the AI solutions, with Claude has, I think that's called Workspace, right? Claude Workspace or coworker, whatever. You have an idea of what is actually possible with these, right?
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
Just imagine that this is just within the Adobe space.
Exactly.
Right.
And I love it. And I think like the Adobe way of approaching it, like from our side, from the data side, like having these umbrella thoughts, like the experience platform has been great because as soon as you kind of set it up in the correct way, then you kind of enrich your entire stack in that. And I think the Enterprise CX like really displayed this well as well. But also talking a lot about agentic, how does the market transfer right now, where we instead of asking questions get asked questions.
Yeah.
Have you seen this? Are you doing these things?
Yeah.
Which from our side opened up a lot of interesting conversations coming back, saying, hey, like. It's almost a Terminator talk again, right? But we don't trust tools. People trust people. People doesn't trust tools.
Yeah.
But again, it's about like what I like about the Adobe thing also is that it enables people to make the tools help in the way. So we use AI as a workflow instead of replacing the people who actually brings the data together and stitches it up.
And one of the takeaways as well was that Adobe Solutions has been used as a reporting tool with workspaces, and what they really want to do is actually moving away from being a reporting tool, but actually a tool that you get insights from and take action on, right?
Exactly.
And I think the AI piece of that is playing a key role of transforming that, right?
Yeah.
And I mean I've certainly seen my shares of companies who, and I think we talked about this as well, like getting the full ROI from the solution, right? Because it's a set and forget from an implementation perspective, and then it's just running dashboards that nobody's looking at or some is looking at, right? But there's not that many who actually have like a dedicated analyst hired who's sitting and finding insights and then taking action on them, right?
No.
It's typically just, whoa, the number's gone up, yay.
And in many cases, they're asked to fix the data rather than find the interesting parts to act on, right?
Yeah, a lot of the effort is spent on making sure that the data quality is correct, right?
Yeah.
I think that's still going to be critical, just because if and it's a broken record, right? But if you don't trust the numbers, you're not going to be trusting the numbers, and AI is going to be generating for you or showing you insights on, right?
Exactly. The data foundation is the key here.
Yeah.
I have a presentation in London about this exact because we tend to not trust the tools when it's often the data foundation that lacks.
Yeah.
And this means that this tool, the next tool, AI, whatever it's going to be next, is going to fail. But if we fix these foundations, then we actually have the right setup to do anything. And we see enterprises winning right now with this.
Yeah.
We see Google saying, hey, bring aligned data before you bring your money. We see big agencies say, hey, own your own data. And we see enterprises say, like, when we have this under control, we can move so fast that we can be front runners.
Yeah.
It's a complete pivot where it's enterprises have realized it's not the tools. We need the tools. Our MarTech is what we said, and where most of our money is going. But to make it work, if we put in the right foundations and the right strategies to this, and the right data ownership from upper marketing management, then tools like Adobe or whatever you're using is like so powerful. They're so powerful for marketing.
I think a critical thing though is, which is never shared at Summit, but is going to be the biggest questions from clients is, what is this going to cost, right?
Yeah.
Because the agents are not going to be enabled for everyone, right? There's the current agents that they have currently has a cost on it, right?
What's it going to cost?
And I have no idea, right? My concern would be that it's probably not cheap, which also requires that the companies investing in this have a certain maturity in order to get value from them, right?
Yes.
And I think the biggest value is probably for the customers who have a low maturity, right?
Which is the majority of companies today?
Yeah, because I know that there's a lot where there's just a few people actually working in the Adobe stack, right? Mm-hmm. And I think those are the companies who everybody's going to benefit from it, right? As long as you change your workflows and stuff like that. Yeah. But if you're just a one-man band or a two-man band, you can be much more efficient if you have agents and the AI workflows integrated into the stack, right? Yeah. But I think it's for those companies where it might be difficult to actually justify the cost that might be coming with these agents.
Yeah,
right.
I agree. What we see, like we work a lot with the maturity framework about the data foundations going into Adobe and essentially whatever you're using. And the first one is taking ownership from upper marketing management, aligning the things. So you need to align your efforts across. Yeah. When we do these things, when we start making sense, so the data that goes into where upper management looks at numbers, where so we don't have to decipherate everything to make it make sense. It's not longer IDs or UTMs. Now it's like the naming that we use in our business. Yeah. Once we have these, the existing tools that you have start working. And this is where the Adobe pack, for instance, with all the new features, it starts working. Yeah. Like 100% of the time starts working with these simple things. Then when we're able to scale it in our business, then we start seeing like the ROI of it when we start attaching the cost and all the things to tools and everything. Then suddenly our activation starts showing in the tools and it works. And then when we can replicate that, that's when we see that fixing your data foundation fixes the tools, but it also 10x the outcome that you see from everything you do, because you do objective commercial thinking, as we've been talking about in the previous episodes as well. So this is also what, like, with all these things that's going on, we all talk about data maturity and data ownership, but we seldomly talk about what does it take to create it. Yeah. It's often like a buzzword. Then we check it off. Of course, you need your data foundations right. Oh, next point here. Yeah. And I would love to see, just to challenge a bit the entire setup for any vendor in the world of MarTech. Like, how do we bring these conversations to life? How do we actually show the frameworks that's working.
Yeah.
Because the enterprise is ruling, like, again, Qualcomm is a genius example for me, because I think they very early on said that to win this market, we need to be leaders in AI.
Yeah.
And they understand like the data foundation and talk about all these things.
Yeah.
And they are also the ones saying, hey, instead of having a wish list coming back from Summit, we have a checklist of what we need to do next.
Yeah.
Because they have this in place. Like
that's interesting. And I think from a checklist perspective, if companies want to prepare for these new things rolling out and you know that you can license for, I think, and we're just going to be repeating ourselves, but getting the data foundation in place, right?
Yeah.
Is the first thing that you should focus on, right?
It's the first. We should start talking about it at least, right? So, but going back to the checklist that you brought forward, like how does because things actually happen at Summit, and I saw from your post and your blog post that within analytics with this new umbrella, how do you see this activated the best way? What are the things that you would recommend your customers like looking at as a next step?
Yeah, so I think if there's not a process for the data quality or full owner of it, that's definitely something to look into, right? Mm-hmm. And I did a quick talk at the Experience League booth as well, talking about a framework for how to add more value to the business and get the business ownership as part of this, right? We call that the Lighthouse framework, and I don't want to go into details on that on this one. We can do that in a separate one, but it's about making sure that there's a proper split of ownership between what's IT and what's the business, right? And ideally, the business should be setting the requirements towards IT on what data that they want, and IT should be owning the data quality, right? And oftentimes it ends up living in IT, because in most cases they are the ones paying the license for it, and there's always pros and cons for the different setups in that, right? Don't want to go into that, but I think starting the conversation with data quality, who owns it, and how can they evaluate the data quality, right? And then secondly, it's about buying into one of these agents or workflows, right? Don't get everything from the beginning, but find one, and how can you incorporate that into your existing workflows, or how can you change your workflows to get the most value out of it, right? Because I think what's and it's difficult to say because we haven't had hands-on in any of this either, right? So we have no idea how good they are, or how they function as such, right? But I think it can be tricky if you get access to, let's say, 5 agents and then try and execute on all 5, right? You need to increase your maturity on using these agents as well, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm still surprised on when I talk to people how many has not used an LMM, right? Mm-hmm. So by suddenly having access to one in the tool, it does require a different mindset on how you're working and how you're using it, right?
Yes.
So despite you and I being in marketing, and I'm sure you're spending a lot of time on AI as well, then we end up in a bubble where we think everyone is at the same level or have tried as many things as we have. But the reality is that when talking to the customers, there's surprisingly how many have never logged in and tried one.
And it's interesting how many low-hanging fruits that are just in front of them.
Exactly.
And how little we talk about it, because we're always next step from where we are ourselves, right?
Yeah. And then something that we haven't mentioned, but is going to be critical as well. I mentioned license as being one of the critical ones. Mm-hmm. And then I think from a GDPR perspective, that could potentially become a blocker for some companies, right? And obviously it's something that Adobe hasn't touched upon because they are not responsible for it. They're just making the tools available for you, right? But if you're having an MCP, then it's your responsibility when you do the connection on, whether you have consent for using your customers' data in the MCP.
Yes, and it's so important. And I think like all this ties together in what you're talking about. So like we have IT on one hand, we have marketing on another hand. We need to coexist in this AI space. Because when you talk about IT, you talk about like how do you secure yourself legally? How do you create the right environments? How do you stay compliant?
Yeah.
Where
and you can just see with the cookie consent how many struggled with doing that, right?
Yeah. But at the same time, marketing is in a different position. Marketing's biggest challenge right now is proving the impact of what they do back to the business, because it becomes so siloed, and all these performance and channels are better than it's ever been, but proving value back to business has never been worse. Like it's never been more difficult in modern marketing to justify the cost in marketing, I think. So these, like, this should be two areas that goes hand in hand, but it often becomes like this weird internal fight in organizations. What is most important, because one is not going to function without the other. So coming back to all these topics that you talk about with IT and marketing, and you like with legal rights, which essentially brings in a different department, like it becomes like enterprises need to come together in a different way that they've done before. Very hands-on and at high speed, because things are evolving so fast right now.
But it's going to be really interesting to see how they're working. Adobe has been having some AI agents that, to be honest, has not been fantastic. It's not that they, from my perspective, have improved the workflow or have made me more efficient in the way that I'm working, right?
No.
So this is a major step, and Derek said that as well, you know, with the 2.0 that's coming out, they made dramatic improvements on some of these agents, right?
Yeah.
So, but I can guarantee that as soon as they are coming out, we're going to be some of the first ones to be hands-on, and I'll definitely bring all the learnings that we get from those into a new episode.
We'd love that. And we've just before recording here also talked about the coming episodes we're going to record here. And guys, we're going to tap into this, like both the legal side and all these things too, and like how do we approach it, like how we're looking into all these things right now, how we can bring this in the best way to bring forward this knowledge.
I don't think you and I should try and be a legal advisor when it comes to how to use that data. So we'll find someone who can
don't take legal advice from us.
No, who can take that role and be very clear on, you know, what are companies allowed to do? What do they need to have in place to actually start using these?
Exactly.
Because I think it's something that many may not think about, right? That the MCP is coming out in a week from now, I guess this.
What data do you load into it?
What
data don't you? And what does it take to load that data in?
Exactly. And what license with the AI are you having, right? Because if you don't have an enterprise agreement with them, they are going to be using that data to train the model. Right? And I'm not sure whether you want your analytics data to be part of the training for one of those AI models, right? Anyway, let's on that. Let's find someone who can actually better speak into that than you and I, right?
Absolutely.
And I think with that, let's.
I want to, before we leave you guys, recommend that you go in and actually read this blog post from Casper.
Thanks, Casper.
Because
we'll include the link in the show notes.
Because I think it's very relevant and very hands-on to like what should we do next. So
cool. Thanks, Casper.
Pleasure as always. See you next week.